I welcome you to this, we call it the Pearl Insider. We are bringing you everything that is in the Pearl of Africa. Today we are here, where are we today?
Today we are in Entebbe Botanical Gardens.
Okay.
Famous gardens created like the Kew Gardens of the United Kingdom.
Okay. That is so interesting. Today we are with Yampa Abraham. This is an expert in tourism, in attractions, in the uniqueness of Uganda. How long have you been guiding tourists in Uganda?
I've been guiding tourists from 1996.
From 1996?
And I've guided different types of tourists. Okay. School children, local tourists, families, foreign tourists, local tourists, and my guiding life or experience started from Uganda Wildlife Education Center that time.
Okay.
When I finished school, I joined UWEC.
Okay.
We joined UWEC as a group of people who were trained to be animal keepers.
Okay.
Then animal keepers, you had to be trained to know wildlife, to know the environment, interpret it and present it.
Wow.
For you to be able to keep and look after the captive wildlife which was at you.
Okay. That's a very wonderful experience. Today we are here at Botanical Gardens. If you are watching our video, I hope you will enjoy this interesting information that is going to share with us about the Botanical Gardens. Someone is there. By the way, there are some Ugandans who don't know Entebbe Botanical Gardens. Those who don't know anything about it, they don't know that it is also important. They don't know that they can come and visit. There is so much they should know or they need to know, and I hope in this video they will be able to get all the required information, because you have all the information they need. So you will guide us through what we are going to talk about today about the Botanical Gardens.
Yes. Now this is, before I begin to give you what Botanical Gardens is, what it is, the perceptions, mindset, challenges, and lack of general information about the Botanical Gardens.
Yes.
I'd like to give you a short history of how the Botanical Gardens was made. First of all, this Botanical Gardens was officially opened in 1898. Its first curator was called White, and the commissioner then of Uganda was Ernest Buckley James. That's why the road that passes around Botanical Gardens is called Buckley Road. In 1998, they thought that they should make a place where they can get plants for acclimatization. Put it in like coffee, tea, tobacco, cocoa, rubber, so that they can introduce it to other areas in Uganda for purposes of economic development. That was one. But before then, Uganda being a protectorate, it had a lot of moving commissioners, assistant commissioners, different people being transferred from one protectorate and colonial area to another. People all through used to have attachment to things, plants, animals, what. So a person would have a small plant, like from Southern Africa, Western Africa, or Morocco, wherever they would come from, Ethiopia, wherever, and they carry them in small containers to remind them of where they were. But Uganda being a tropical country, most of those plants bloomed and became big. And when they became big, they had to plant them somewhere. Or when they were leaving to go to another place, they need to leave them somewhere because they could no longer travel with them. So somehow they started planting them around this area. It was not until 1898 that they saw that all the plants that were being planted here were actually growing, and the idea of creating a research station was developed. And this vast area, it is 40.7 hectares or 100 acres. of different species of land. Different species of plants. We have a total of around 2,500 different subspecies and around 300 species. We have 110 indigenous trees and other plants. Then we have like 200 and something, 209 exotic, without counting grasses and other things that brings it to 2,500. That is the variety of botanical garden. And we have around 100 and something medicinal plants in the botanical gardens alone. So the history of why the botanical was there. So the person is going to ask you a question. When I ask you a question, I say, why was the botanical gardens established? According to the colonialists, they wanted a place where they could do what we call acclimatization. Acclimatization in tourism and conservation and the environment is to get used to something, to see where the person can survive, live in this environment. For example, when you have a tourist who comes into Uganda, then they can fly in today, tomorrow you don't take them to eat a Rolex on the roadside or roasted meat. You first have to give them some days to acclimatize their stomach to the environment before you start taking them to taste that food. So these people didn't know where the plants that were going to be, they wanted to bring in. The plants where their colonies were making money from could also grow in Uganda. So they needed a place like this. First put the plant there. When the plant grows, then they would bring in more seedlings or create seedlings from there and go and establish such areas. Another site in the botanical garden. I talked about the baobab tree. Here we have a baobab tree which I believe is more than 100 years old, because it was one of the plants that were introduced to show people the diversity of Africa and see where the trees can grow here. But this baobab has not and does not look like the baobab trees that you see in Southern Africa, in Kenya, in the Savo and everywhere, because it was planted in a tropical area. The water is too much. It has got a lot of lychee, and I don't know whether it affects its growth, but that is the truth. So here in the botanical gardens, when you look, I think if I was one of the managers, I would make sure that I release a lot of water off the baobab tree to make it maybe have a more dry environment to maybe grow. Because this is a planted area. It is very artificial as much as it has indigenous and exotic trees, but we'd like to see if it can grow. Because starting to plant it now will take a lot of time for it even to reach here. This is one of the trees. Now there is some other thing that we need to talk about. The botanical gardens, when it was created, the first person, the first curator was an agriculturalist, and that was the purpose. And you know, Uganda went through a lot of phases of insecurity and destruction of natural places and protected areas. So there was no direct, or there was no good movement. Then the Botanical Gardens was under the Ministry of Natural Resources. From there, it came, in 1995, it was put under NARO. NARO has been managing the Botanical Gardens for all that time, up to 2024, when the Botanical Gardens were actually given to Uganda Wildlife Authority, or Uganda Wildlife Education Center, which in turn also was merged with Uganda Wildlife Authority. So right now, these gardens are managed by Uganda Wildlife Authority, which are in Entebbe. It is part of Exitu. Exitu has a commissioner, and I think the commissioner is Dr. Musingo David, and is the one who manages, or is the head manager of these areas right now. We need to look at the beauty of the botanical gardens. So many people ask, why did Uganda Wildlife come in? Yes, as much as it was all created for purposes of agriculture, then eventually turned into a recreation center. It is an education, a wildlife education center. It is a very, very big classroom where all of us can come and study about wildlife. I'm seeing doves flying over. If you want to become a very good guide, nature guide, this is the place where you need to come. Look at the plants, look at the differences between indigenous, look at the difference between exotic, look at the difference between any animals. We have birds flying over. There is a lake. The botanical gardens are set on the northern shores of Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria area is very tropical. There's a lot of rain. We have a lot of trees. We have a lot of plants. It is a place where a lot of lake flies come. Lake flies make a lot of what we call manure for plants and animals. In the background, in the botanical gardens, that is for recreation, and then for education purposes. It is a place where people come to relieve their stress. Women, men, children, students, please, if you want to get your stress, just get at the gate. The entrance is very flexible. It is 5,000 for Ugandans and 10,000 for foreign tourists. You just come in, get a guide to take you around, learn, and after that you can tell the guide to go. That fee covers your 6 or to 8 hours that you'll be in the botanical garden.